Good evening and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 3rd and tonight's movie is No Country for Old Men. I don't think I need to explain this one to you, its reputation precedes itself. Not only did it win 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, what really interested me is Javier Bardem's character. This performance has gotten notoriety as being one of the scariest psychotic performances in the history of cinema, right up there with Heath Ledger's Joker or Hannibal Lecter. That's the main reason why I'm watching it for Horror Nights, even though this isn't a horror movie, it's hardly even a thriller. The plot of the movie is that the main character finds $2 million in a suitcase at the scene of a shootout. I guess everybody died in the shootout, and takes it for himself. This results in him not only being chased by the police, but also Bardem's character, who I believe is a hitman. And it seems to result in a sort of three-way cat and mouse situation. Just from the trailer, there's no possible way this is going to end well. I'm excited. I'm gonna go check it out. This was certainly an interesting movie. Not really my thing, but interesting. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It was pretty good for most of it, but I didn't like the ending very much. To begin with, I absolutely understand why Anton, Javier Bardem's character, has gotten so much notoriety. This is a scary character. He's not only good at what he does and completely devoid of any sort of compassion, he's also pretty smart. He's one of those characters where it's always really hard to try to figure out what he's thinking or what he's going to do next. Definitely the most famous movie in the entire movie happens towards the beginning, where he's at a gas station buying stuff, and he strikes up a conversation with the guy behind the desk, and at one point he just pulls out a coin, flips it, and asks him to call it, and he doesn't say what it's for, but I'm pretty sure the implication is if he calls it correctly, he'll live. If not, he's gonna kill him right there. And he's not very expressive, but you could tell in a moment like this, he's really loving this power trip that it's giving him. Probably the most emotion you ever get out of him is in one of his first scenes where he is being held by the police, and he's, for some reason, they're just leaving him on a chair in handcuffs, and he just gets up and starts strangling the deputy with the handcuffs, and you can tell by his facial expression, I think he enjoyed it a little too much, if you know what I mean. The scenes with him are all very good. They're tense, they're paced well, and there's a lot of presence from this character. But there are 3 main characters in this movie instead of just Anton. There's also the hunter who finds the $2 million and the local sheriff. There are a lot of good action scenes in this movie. Of course, Anton is a wonderful movie villain, but what really was a sticking point for me was the ending. There were 3 main characters, 3 different story arcs, and none of them ended in a way that I thought was satisfying. Pretty much everything else about it works. The acting's great, the characters are well written, it's shot beautifully, and there's good dialogue, good conversations, good moments, but the ending just wasn't ideal for me. I can understand how this is a film nerd's wet dream, what with all of its symbolism and philosophizing about the human condition, but when it comes to action or being a thriller, it does pretty good for most of it, except for the end. And now I want to talk about some spoilers. Going into this, I was under the impression that it was going to be both the police and Anton are going after the hunter. It's this Welsh name that I recognize when I see it spelled out, but I don't know how to pronounce, Llewellyn, I think is how they say it. But really, it's kind of just Anton chasing around Llewellyn and the police sort of watching from a distance. I think this movie is at its best during the little cat and mouse moments between Llewellyn and Anton. There are some good conversations that the sheriff has, but it kind of takes away from the movie as a whole when the really good parts keep getting interrupted with parts that aren't as great. But let's stop beating around the bush and actually talk about why I didn't like the ending. First of all, Llewellyn dies. He just gets killed, and it wasn't even at the very end of the movie, it was 20 minutes left when he gets shot and killed. And it wasn't even Anton who killed him. It was some drug cartel. And we don't even see it happen. It happens off screen. This was the central character to the movie. We were following him throughout the entire thing, and they just killed him just like that. And also, just like the entire character in general, there doesn't seem to be too much of a point to the ending of the sheriff. He just retires and talks with people about things. But what was really interesting was Anton's ending. He does get the money. I don't know what he does with it. I don't think he has the briefcase when you last see him. But then again, there like some time has passed. Maybe he hid it somewhere. But the last thing that he does is goes to the house of Llewellyn's wife. And like there was like this sort of back and forth between the two of them earlier where he was saying it's like, I'm going to kill you no matter what. But if you cooperate, I won't kill your wife. And he doesn't cooperate. So in order to like keep his promise, he goes and does the coin flip thing with her. But what she does is that she refuses to call it. She just says, no, I'm not going to let you pass this choice off to a coin. You have to make this choice. It's sort of highlighting the kind of ridiculous nature of it because he has it in him to kill anybody for any reason. So the fact that he decides to leave it up to chance seems completely pointless. And apparently this is where it differs from the book, because in the book she calls it and she guesses wrong and he shoots her. But in the movie, you have no idea what happens. The scene just ends before anything happened. You see him walking out of the house. So it's left ambiguous whether or not he killed her. So I thought that was a nice touch. That was a good thing to add. But then right after that, when he's driving away, he gets in this random car accident that comes out of nowhere. You don't know the other guy. You don't even know what happens to the other guy. He breaks his arm and like a couple of like, I'm pretty sure they were like 14, 15-year-old boys come up and he like buys one of their shirts and like puts it in a sling and just walks away. And that's the last you ever see of him. The movie ends with the police sheriff talking with his wife, well, ex-sheriff, he retired, talking with his wife about dreams that he had about his dad, and then the movie just ends. I'm not going to call this a bad movie because it has such a good foundation to it, and the first two acts are so, like, well done and entertaining. But, oh man, that ending, it seems like they fumbled the ball, and apparently that's how the book ended too, so I'm not sure if there's much they could have done about it, but it would have been really nice if there was an ending that really, like, wrapped everything up in a way that was satisfying, considering how well the setup was. It's not even that this movie had a bad ending, it was just kind of underwhelming and confusing. It was a lot like yesterday's movie. But unlike with The Blackcoat's Daughter, I can say for No Country for Old Men that the trip getting there was still, like, good in and of itself. And I think it does make the movie worth watching. And with that, Day 3 is over. I'll see you guys tomorrow.